This recording is from the ACA World Convention that was held virtually in May of 2021. The ACA World Service Organization is grateful to all who contributed to making this convention happen, as well as to all who participated. ACA is an anonymous program. Please respect the anonymity of those that participated in the event. To learn more about the ACA Fellowship, please visit us online at adultchildren.org, where you can find information for newcomers, as well as free literature for download. Information about doing service in the ACA Fellowship can be found at acawso.org and acawsoec.org. To purchase literature or to make a 7th tradition contribution, please go to shop.adultchildren.org. We hope you enjoy the following recording from the 6th Annual World Convention, Global Recovery in May 2021.
At this conference, each member should request their own access to the AWC. This is so they can acknowledge our commitment to trying to protect the personal anonymity of AWC attendees. Thank you.
So during the meeting, only the active speakers will be unmuted. Video, microphone, and chat will generally be disabled for all viewers. This is to ensure a safe listening experience for all. And I do hear some people unmuted, so wonderful. Some meetings may ask for sharing or for volunteers to do a reading. To request to speak, please use the raise hand feature in the participant's screen at that time. This presentation is not like that. You please remember that that anything that you hear at this meeting should remain at the meeting. We do not talk about another person's story or experiences to other people. Please respect the anonymity of all those who share with us today. And we do not crosstalk during the sharing time. Crosstalk means interrupting, referring to, or commenting on what another person has said during the meeting. We also don't distract from the person sharing. Distracting means doing anything other than paying full attention to the person speaking in an online meeting. This also includes background noise, which can happen if you are not muted or your video is switched on and there's activity going on around you. Thank you.
Just a quick question in between. Is the recording button seen at your end as enabled? Because I'm not able to see.
Yes, we are being recorded.
Awesome. Thank you.
Marianne, if you can come through.
I'm Marianne, grateful ACA. We meet to share the experience we had as children growing up in an alcoholic or dysfunctional home. That experience affected us then, and it affects us today. By practicing the 12 steps, focusing on the solution, and accepting a higher power of our understanding, we find freedom from the effects of alcoholism and other family dysfunction. We identify the problem and learn to live in the solution one day at a time. Please join me in opening our meeting with the ACA Serenity Prayer in whatever language or way that calls your heart. Taking a deep breath. And together, God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one that I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me.
And I've asked Monica C. to read the laundry list. Go ahead, Monica.
Hi, Monica C. This is the laundry list. 1, we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the. 3, we are afraid of angry people and any criticism. 4, we either become alcoholics, marry them, or both, or find a personality such as a workaholic to fulfill sick abandonment needs. 5, we live from the viewpoint of victims and we are affected by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. 6, we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility and it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. This enables us not to look too closely at our own faults, etc. 7, we get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. 8, we become addicted to excitement. 9, we confuse love and pity and tend to love people we can pity and rescue. 10, we have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. Denial. 11, we judge ourselves harshly and have a very low sense of self-esteem. 12, we are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order not to experience painful abandonment feelings, which we receive from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. 13, alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease even though we did not pick up the drink. And 14, para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors.
Thank you so much, Monica. And now the solution. The solution is to become your own loving parent. As ACA becomes a safe place for you, you will find freedom to express all the hurts and fears you've kept inside and to free yourself from the shame and blame that are carryovers from the past. You will become an adult who is imprisoned no longer by childhood reactions. You will recover the child within you, learning to accept and love yourself. The healing begins when we risk moving out of isolation. Feelings and buried memories will return. By gradually releasing the burden of unexpressed grief, we slowly move out of the past. We learn to reparent ourselves with gentleness, humor, love, and respect. This process allows us to see our biological parents as the instruments of our existence. Our actual parent is a higher power whom some of us choose to call God. Although we had alcoholic or dysfunctional parents, our higher power gave us the 12 steps of recovery. And the next page of the second part of the solution, this is the action work that heals us. We use the steps, we use the meetings, we use the telephone, we share our experience, strength, and hope with each other. We learn to restructure our sick thinking one day at a time. When we release our parents from responsibility for our actions today, we become free to make healthful decisions as actors, not reactors. We progress from hurting to healing to helping. We awaken to a sense of wholeness we never knew was possible. By attending these meetings on a regular basis, you will come to see parental alcoholism or family dysfunction for what it is, a disease that infected you as a child and continues to affect you as an adult. You will learn to keep the focus on yourself in the here and now. You will take responsibility for your own life and supply your own parenting. You will not do this alone. You'll look around you and you'll see others who know exactly how you feel. We will love and encourage you no matter what. We ask you to accept us just as we accept you. This is a spiritual program based on action coming from love. We are sure that as the love grows inside you, you will see beautiful changes in all your relationships, especially with God, yourself, and your parents. So I've asked Sheila to read the 12 steps.
Yeah, thank you. 12 steps of ACA. Number 1, we admitted we were powerless over the effects of alcoholism or other family dysfunction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings and made a list of those persons who we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. That was number 8. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 9. And step 10 and step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry it out. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others who still suffer and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thanks, Sheila. And I've asked Monica C. to read the 12 traditions.
Hi, Monica C. The 12 traditions. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon ACA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority. A loving God is expressed in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership in ACA is a desire to recover from the effects of growing up in an alcoholic or otherwise dysfunctional family. 4, each group is autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or ACA as a whole. We cooperate with other 12-step programs. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the adult child who still suffers. 6, an ACA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the ACA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every ACA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, adult children of alcoholics should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, ACA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, adult children of alcoholics has no opinion on outside issues, hence the ACA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, TV, and films. And 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Sheila, take it away. And you are muted, Sheila.
Yes, I see that. Okay, so here we are at the introduction. You may have related to our readings, even if there was no apparent alcoholism or addiction in your home. This is common because dysfunction can occur in a family without the presence of addiction, and we welcome you. In the beginning, many of us could not recognize or accept that some of our current attitudes or behaviors result from some experience related to alcoholism or dysfunction in our childhood. We behave as adult children, which means we bring self-doubt and fear learned in childhood to our adult interactions. By attending meetings regularly and actively work the ACA program, we come to know and begin to act as our true selves. What you hear at this meeting should remain at the meeting. We do not talk about another person's story or experiences to other people. Please respect the anonymity of all those who share with us today. Thank you.
The Global Members Committee provides support to ACA fellowships outside of the USA, Canada, and Europe in their efforts to be self-supporting as they grow, facilitating universal inclusiveness, accessibility, and affordability of literature and ACA recovery resources as part of Tradition 5. We honor Tradition 4 for all countries we support. Each group is autonomous. We partner with various committees in WSO and with our fellowships around the world to unify our ACA recovery resources. We are pleased to be sponsoring 6 workshops at this 2021 AWC. And as part of this committee, the group of presenters at this workshop have been meeting together for months as a working group, specifically on how to grow global recovery support or sponsorship. Sheila and I serve as co-coordinators of this working group, and it's our honor and pleasure to introduce the rest of the team in this global AWC workshop. So we all will be presenting various parts of this workshop and get to know all of us. And we'll also have a special guest from one of our emerging countries tonight and a different one tomorrow when we present the same workshop tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you can just move to the next slide.
Sorry about that, Leah. Please go ahead.
All right, so Sheila, take us. We're going to be opening up our workshop, and Sheila's going to be starting part 1, our introduction.
So, hi everybody, thanks Leah. Our ACA program gives us the promise that through our ACA recovery, we move from hurting to healing to helping. The workshop today focuses on this aspect of the ACA journey, especially on the transition from healing to helping. In giving service, we affirm one another and share our gifts. Tradition 5, our primary purpose is to carry the message to the adult who still suffers. Each of us carries the message of hope to the adult child who still suffers every time we share our experience. strength, and hope. A little more on the promises that come with helping in our fellowship. This workshop is put on by a newly formed working group called the Global Members Sponsorship, Giving, and Receiving ACA Support. This working group is a response to a loud cry, especially from countries where ACA was not so widespread, that there is a significant need for more seasoned ACAs to step into giving support to the newcomers. We've been working for the past 6 months to create a centralized structure to help more and more adult children who have moved from the healing part of the 3-part journey to move with serenity to the helping part of the ACA journey. Our working group purpose is to increase accessibility, connection, and strength in giving and receiving ACA recovery and service support or sponsorship for ACA global emerging countries. So I'll read the purpose of this presentation slide, which is just before you, to illustrate the many ways giving and receiving ACA support looks like for the newcomer and old timer and everyone in between. Also, the purpose of this presentation is to tell stories to help you answer these questions. How and where can I carry the message of hope to a still suffering ACA? To introduce you to the global countries, what's been happening and where the needs are today, very exciting stuff in store, and share with you the brand new service supports, brand new and evolving hub of starting up, and more on that later. Okay. Our workshop structure will be in the same structure of the basic ACA share, first the experience, then the strength, and finally the hope. And then Leah will take us to the experience.
All right, so you can unshare the presentation. And I just want to also say thank you so much to our tech hosts and all the people working behind the scenes. We're a little more shorthanded than we expected to be. So a huge thank you to all the people who are working so hard to bring this to you tonight, or morning or afternoon, all over the world. So we start with experience, and the story that we are about to present is of a woman named Tanya from North America. She's a composite character of many adult children in our ACA fellowship, and she was created specifically for this workshop to demonstrate what giving and receiving ACA support might look like in its many shapes and flavors. She's being presented today as a jumping off point to inspire you all to dream and to heartstorm about how and where you want to carry the ACA message of hope to other adult children, to help strengthen the message of hope within our global fellowship. And her story also speaks to the newcomers who might be in attendance today. And if you are a newcomer, if this is your first ACA day, if it's your first day or your first workshop, maybe even your first meeting, feel free to say hello, and you can put your name and tell us where your name and where you're calling in from today. And this workshop can also speak to you, to gain an appreciation for the many ways that fellow travelers who have come before you can support you in moving from hurting to healing to helping. So here's Tanya, voiced by Monica C.
Hi, I'm Monica C. Hi, I'm Tanya, and I'm an adult child of a dysfunctional home. I've been in ACA for 3 years. When I first came into the rooms of ACA, I was broken, miserable, and hopeless. It felt like a last resort for me, as I tried all sorts of things before, and yet I felt I was completely out of control and wanted to die. I didn't know what the 12 steps were at all. I heard the steps for the first time at my very first ACA meeting. After the steps, passages from the big red book of ACA were read, and then people shared their personal experience based on the readings. The people at the meeting were all warm and welcoming, yet there was one guy who really stood out to me. He was glowing. He said that his life had been transformed from working the steps and that he was now living happy, joyous, and free. and I could just tell he was telling the truth. In just a few minutes, his hope permeated my sad soul. And so I figured this 12-step program might also work for me too. So I returned to the same meeting the next week because I was really desperate to hear more of that hope that there was a solution to my problem. My first year. During my first 6 months, I continued to attend that meeting regularly. It was a space that was so welcoming and open to listening to me without judgment and shame. It was such an incredibly powerful experience. I was slowly developing a relationship with a higher power along with my inner child, little Tanya. At first, I didn't want to talk to people as I was really self-conscious. After a couple of months, I started to hang around a little after meetings to chat with other members and fellow travelers. I was breaking my isolation. There was a mix of newcomers and old-timers, people who worked the steps and some who had never completed them. There were people who showed up once every 6 months and fellow travelers who didn't miss a single meeting. The most impactful meetings were the ones with a 25 speaker share at the beginning. There weren't a lot of people who were willing to step up to speak, but once in a while we would have a speaker. I still remember one fellow traveler who gave a speaker share and shared her immense growth through working ACA. Her story of transformation was really inspiring to me. Hearing her trauma background and how far she'd come in ACA inspired me that this program could help me in my life too, and increase my motivation to do the challenging work this program was talking about. In my home group, there was one woman who was really into service work. She was talking about the ABC, the annual business convention. We started voting on these ballot things. I couldn't really understand it all, but I could tell she was really passionate about intergroup, this regional group of all the meetings with one region and ABC, the annual business convention, and the AWC, the annual World Convention. To be honest, all these regional and global initiatives didn't really mean much to me in my first few months. However, about 5 months into my recovery journey, the annual World Conference was happening pretty close to my home. I knew it was a big deal, but didn't understand the magnitude. One of the workshops I went to was led by an old-timer who had been in ACA for decades. I ended up chatting with her for a long time after the workshop where I was in tears. She asked for my email and checked in with me a week after the conference to see how I was doing. My fear of authority figures and tendency to assume things about authority made me think that she wouldn't be interested in speaking to little old me. I didn't yet understand how important 12-step was to the recovered adult child, to carry the message to the adult child who still suffers. She didn't see me in a hierarchical way, only I did. She and I ended up doing weekly outreach calls for the next several months. She wasn't my official sponsor or anything, just accompanying me for a short while on my ACA path. I didn't realize how important these calls were to her recovery, even though she'd been in recovery for so long. One of my fellow travelers at a meeting I was attending regularly, who was a newcomer to ACA and yet was also working another 12-step program, so had a broader network and was just in the know, told me about a 16-week ACA step study she was planning to attend soon. The step study would be going through the yellow workbook in a group format. I decided to join her. The step study was led by a trusted servant who was new to leading step studies. There were people in my step study who were brand new, like me, newcomers. And there were a bunch of people who had already done a step study before. Some had done them multiple times. Between the sessions, I tried to answer some of the questions in the yellow book on my own. And I did do some, but I just didn't have the support and the motivation to keep up with it. At 9 months, I bought a copy of the Big Red Book, and it helped me deepen my appreciation for the history and the breadth of the program. It helped me broaden my language in this new-ish ACA world. Trying to find a sponsor. At around the year 1 mark of my tenure in ACA, I mustered up the courage to ask a nice lady in my meeting to be my official sponsor. I had heard that a sponsor would help me navigate the steps, which were still a really big puzzle for me, and this woman had shared in meetings that she had worked the steps and was living a better life than she had been pre-recovery. She agreed to be my sponsor, and we talked on the phone once a week. It wasn't structured and we didn't really focus on the steps, but it was nice to have someone with more experience to chat with on a regular basis. After a couple months, though, she left the program. I hadn't really found anyone else in my home group that I connected with and was carrying the message of hope that the program was working in their life. And so I didn't ask anyone else for a while. I eventually did ask a few more people, but it just didn't seem to click. I had several sponsors who all had very different ways of sponsoring, though I didn't get through my 4th or 5th steps with any of them. For a while, I had a sponsor who had a lot of experience. However, she had very little time for me, and I was intimidated by her knowledge and experience. My authority issues were cropping up again. Getting through the steps. At the 2-year mark of my recovery journey, I joined another 16-week yellow workbook step study. This time I asked a fellow traveler to be my step study buddy or sharing partner, and we worked on written questions between our weekly group study meeting. I also started attending a laundry list study, and I was hopping around to different meetings in my city. My ACA world was expanding, and I was meeting more and more people. I felt like I was really making headway in my ACA recovery. I started doing more service at my own home group meeting, being the newcomer greeter, chairing meetings, and participating in business meetings. These all helped me feel like I was really part of ACA and realize that the fellowship is just a collection of people recovering together, that there's no authority or right way to do things. If I had a question, I could approach an old timer or I could check my big red book for guidance. I also realized that the fellowship depended on my participation and service to continue to be available to me and my fellows. When the pandemic started, it felt like my eyes were open to the whole world of ACA resources. Workshops and meetings at any hour of the day. Outreach WhatsApp groups, hundreds and hundreds of adult children to connect with, a multitude of languages and accents. In just one click, I could be at a global Christmas party or at a non-dominant handwriting workshop. It was exciting. I shared my experience, strength, and hope at a meeting in another country. Even though I was terrified to share my story, the experience gave me so much confidence. I continued to stay engaged, and yet I still never felt like I could really take someone through the steps or sponsor someone. I still feel like a newcomer at times. I'm often not sure of the best way to carry the message of hope and give back to the fellowship, the most precious gift I had been given. I often feel like I just need a bit more direction and support. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing Tanya's story, Monica C. And for those who are just joining, Monica, one of our presenters, part of our working group, was sharing a story of someone who's just a composite character. And I already saw in the chat that some people identify perhaps with Tanya or different stages of Tanya's story, or maybe someone in Tanya's story, a different character in Tanya's story. So we're going to move now to some exercises that Marianne, one of our other presenters and working group members, is going to lead us in to reflect on your experiences in recovery, moving from hurting to healing to helping, and maybe some of the characters that have shown up for you in your recovery, helping you, shining a light for you. Marianne, over to you.
Okay, and I think there's a slide if you want to put up the slide. But now that you've heard Tanya's story, who do you identify with? Tanya, the newcomer, Tanya at 1 year in the program, 2 years, perhaps you identify with where Tanya is now. Or do you identify with one of the fellow travelers that Tanya met along the way? Or maybe you identify with more than one. Take a few minutes of silent reflection and think about how you relate to her story. Or we invite you to spend the time in silent reflection. And so we'll just allow a minute or so here. And if you'd like, you can put in the chat who you related to in the story. We can share with each other. All right. And I'll just share that there's no one way to travel the path of recovery. That is yours to discover and carve out for yourself. The one shared experience we all have, though, the common denominator of ACA recovery is this: a fellow traveler with more experience, strength, and hope shone a light for each of us, shone a light for each one of us. In a meeting, a step study, in a workshop, on an outreach call. At one time, each of us came through the doors of ACA for the very first time. Perhaps this is your very first ACA experience. And the way we're moving through the solution is to move from hurting to healing to helping. And if you can go to the next slide, take a moment to consider your own ACA journey and the fellow traveler who have crossed your path. Either spend the next few minutes in thought or write down what comes to mind. Who comes to mind as the fellow traveler who has played a significant role in your personal ACA journey? Consider up to 2 and reflect on how they too had once their first day in ACA and their own recovery journey from hurting to healing to helping. And we'll take just a few minutes here for you. You can write, you can reflect, and you can also share in the chat. So we have some people sharing on the chat, and you can click on the chat button at the bottom of the screen to see what people have shared. Well, I'll turn it back over to you, Leah.
Thank you so much, Marianne, and thank you all for participating in the chat. And we're going to move on to the strength part of our workshop. So just like every share, like the strength, this is the part in the middle where we're going to share what that journey of recovery, that healing, what does that healing part look like? And so for those of you who are just joining, I'm going to reiterate that the focus of this workshop, which is launching our global recovery support network hub structures to increase accessibility, connection, and strength in giving and receiving ACA recovery and service support sponsorship. This is specifically for ACA Global Emerging Countries. So our working group, it's being formed to put together this hub that I just mentioned, which we'll be talking more about at the end of this presentation. And it's essentially to give extra support and structure within the Global Fellowship to help more of our members move with more confidence and more ease from healing to helping. And the focus is especially in countries outside of Canada, US, Europe, where our centers are fairly strong, so we can continue the cycle of healing and help those who are still hurting. Again, especially in those countries that don't have as strong hubs, that are new outside of those centers. And so we want to make sure that this cycle of hurting to healing to helping to helping those that are hurting, and to continue that cycle, so that the cycle is not broken. And our fellowship depends on it. So what's wonderful is also that the glory is in the giving, and that by helping, we are in fact able to maintain and strengthen our own healing process. And our literature reminds us of that in the Big Red Book on page 117. When we give back, we help ourselves in addition to helping someone else. So it's a necessary ingredient for our fellowship and for our own recoveries. So the question is, what are some common ways that we move from healing to helping in our fellowship? How do we find our footing? How do we get our own courage to offer support to others in ACA? Those moments where we feel like, but do I have anything to give? Like, am I healed enough? All of those insecurities or, places of feeling not whole yet. So how do we get that? How do we get that and be able to give it over? How do we make that first, reaching out our hand, speaking, opening our mouth, giving our number to a newcomer? How do we do that? So I'm going to pass this over to John, and he's going to introduce you to the characters in Tanya's story that shone a light for her by sharing their experience, strength, and hope in so many different ways. And our presenters today will bring to life these characters by sharing their own experience, strength, and hope. And these are their real life experience, strength, and hope that they're going to be sharing. So over to you, John.
Yes, it's great to be here with all of you fellow travelers from around the world. This is John O, and I want to introduce you to the first person Tanya met, who she saw carrying the hope, living a new life after putting into practice the program's recovery tools. Leah likes to carry that message of hope. Over to you, Leah.
All right, so I'm just going to set my timer. All right, so my name is Leah, and I'm an adult child. And I can actually still remember the first share of hope that I heard. It was at my very first ACA meeting over 3 years ago. And I don't remember the content of what this person shared, but I can still remember the feeling and hope that he conveyed. And as I've continued to travel this road since that very first meeting, I've come to really fall in love with the template or the recipe for sharing. First the experience, then the strength, and finally the hope. And actually, the way that I like to think about it is like the metamorphosis of the change of the caterpillar to butterfly, that butterfly life cycle. So the wonderful thing also is that my home group is called Chrysalis, which is the name for that, for when the caterpillar goes into that cocoon and goes through that change process that doesn't always look so pretty, and yet emerges as a butterfly. So my home group is Chrysalis here in Toronto, Canada. And so I'll start first of all by sharing a quick passage in the Big Red Book. In carrying the message of hope, our story is the identification tool that allows us to connect with other adult children and bring hope like no one else can. Something marvelous happens when one adult child talks to another adult child, sharing experience, strength, and hope. Both are helped, and the message of recovery experiences a heartbeat. On page 117. And so in that experience part where, in the caterpillar stage, that's where, I'm sharing my challenging experiences, both in the past, but also, today, in a way that is, it's like as I've shared in this program for the last few years, I've found this kind of sweet spot of where I'm sharing enough details of my experience so that people can identify with me. So people understand I've had the same experiences the same grief, the same feelings, the same losses, you know, in my experience. And also not too much detail where, you know, people are feeling disconnected from me because they say, oh, well, I didn't have that experience of trauma or this or that, you know. So, you know, being able to find that spot where we can find that identification. And what's so beautiful with the experience part is that it breaks down the hierarchy. You know, I'm just like everyone else in the room. We're all here together with shared experience. And then moving on to the strength, that's the chrysalis part. And so this is the middle part when I'm sharing the strength that it's taken to go on this recovery journey, because it really requires strength to pick up these recovery tools. You know, it's so hard. And so this is where I share, this is what I tried. This is, you know, what I have to do to move out of hurting into healing. And the healing journey, like I said, it's like the chrysalis. It's not always so pretty, and can be painful, even once we find recovery rooms, even once we find the tools and we start developing them. It's a journey. And then the hope, right? The butterfly. And sometimes the butterfly is not having a great flying day, you know, or fully in bloom. There's still ups and downs. But what's so marvelous about this recipe for sharing is that it offers like this structure, and the guidelines, and it's like a story. It's this arc that moves through this cycle. And I'll just share that I just really appreciate this gift that's experience, strength, and hope. And actually, ESH in Hebrew means fire. And so I often will call it Esh, and I think of it as a fire, like a flame, and it ignites those around us in the rooms. And it helps to extinguish shame and ignite hope and motivation. And with that, I pass.
Yes, I like the fire. Esh, I love it. Thank you for sharing, Leah. Next, I will introduce to you the 25-minute speaker at Tanya's home group. Monica will share her experience about this crucial service. Monica.
Hi, I'm Monica C. from Santa Barbara, California. I'm so grateful to be here. What an honor and a privilege. There were several things that I identified with in Tanya's story, but one of the last sentences in one of the last paragraphs was stepping up to be a speaker. And my journey of ACA recovery and experience, strength, and hope has really given me the confidence to break away from the denial of the traumatic upbringing that I had, and to reach out to people who are hurting and who have experienced a lot of similarities, things that people are really afraid to talk about: domestic violence, sexual abuse, grief, all the losses. And I'm here before you, radiantly alive first, you know, speaking to many people and speaking to even taking outreach calls one-on-one when people are afraid in these meetings to reach out and ask for help or let me know that they identify with what is going on. But I'm extremely grateful. The hope, the strength is that this is a continual process for me. I'm in the midst of my transformation. I continue to evolve, and I've had some things happen this past year. COVID has been a blessing. And what has brought to me is stepping up to be a speaker is I found balance. I've always been of service, but I found this great, serene way to just keep balance in my professional and personal life as sharing my experience, strength, and hope. And so I've stepped away from some of my other commitments, but I've stepped up to be a speaker and also to sponsor women. And the strength part also has helped me be a speaker and share where I'm at today. Every time I share something that's going on with my life and how I'm getting through, and I'm not afraid anymore. I have 5 years in the program this June 29th. I'm just really grateful that I have this loving support system and I stay in the middle of the herd. My sponsor told me, run with the big ones, you know, keep in touch. I'm plugged into meetings every single day. I listen to other speakers. I look for people that are healthy and that have something that I want. And I keep myself emotionally sober and just in this serene, peaceful state. Also, what Tanya saw, that glow in the first part when the gentleman had, I look at in people, and that's what's helped me step up. And I can identify with her. The first time I was terrified. I had been speaking, I have another recovery program, but I was absolutely terrified. I don't think I looked very happy, and that was in another program. But when I arrived in ACA 5 years later after that first program, I usually am really happy, and I try to live in the solution. Before recovery, I was so stuck in the problem, and I didn't have that hope. And now that hope has returned to me. And I just want to end with, I think I have a few seconds left, that what she said, every time I speak, I am confident and I'm healing. Every time I come out of that isolation and I share what's going on in my life, again, I feel like COVID has been a blessing because there's been this time to really reflect, a lot of self-reflection. And now I'm looking at, how do I want to go back into the world? I'm sitting with that. I'm just finding these wonderful, wonderful tools and resources to help me and to share with others. And I share with people that I work with that this is my radical self-love weekend. Today is my radical self-love Saturday. Tomorrow is my sacred Sunday. Wednesday is my wonderful wellness Wednesday, where I just take a pause. Thank you for letting me be here. Pass.
Thank you for your share, Monica. Next is the fellow traveler in Tanya's story who led one of the STEP studies she attended. That would be me. I'll share, John O., some of the experiences with stepping into leading groups. And what a wild ride it's been. Learning to heal and help through service, becoming a fellow traveler that leans into service, being willing to show up. And that's pretty much how I got here today. My experience in the rooms, I accepted the invitation by my higher power, that if I would just show up and be willing and lean into that, the hurting would become healing, and then it would become helping. There was a better way for me to be able to connect. I learned that I needed to talk. And in talking, I carried the message to others. I kept showing up, asking questions and finding out how it works. The annual World Conference workshops was blow away last year, and I'm back. And I've got a message today that when you get involved as a global volunteer group person, you're no longer sitting on the bench. Yeah, the learning curve was steep, and it took a while to get up off that bench, get into the game. But I shared what I learned from my fellow travelers that I learned from my home group 3 years ago. When I came to that home group, I'm like, what do I do? Tell me what to do, And everyone just graciously said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to be a part of a study group. What's this study group stuff, And so I had to lead my own study group. I announced and invited to a group for people to come, and 6 brave men came, and they were willing and like-hearted fellow travelers like myself. And again, the AWC put me in a position of taking that life cycle of showing up to being involved as a one-on-one in a group, to doing a yellow book study with men. And then that 1 year study was blow away. We were doing a hybrid Zoom meeting. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, and we were ready for it. We went right into our laundry list group guide and completely blow away. At the same time, when I went to AWC, the Ready, Set, Go program came to my attention, and I started showing up there. The very thing I did in my first meeting was to listen, but then I said, oh, I can be timer. Oh, I can read a script, And so I was always jumping in and not knowing exactly what was going to happen. But in Ready, Set, Go, it was like, there's sharing partners. There's people out there from all over the world that don't understand this whole process. Will you be your sharing partner? And next thing you know, what's going on with me? I'm being a sharing partner from people from Israel, from South Africa, from Ireland, from Armenia. Just amazing. And those one-on-one people, they became a group, right? And specifically, I started going to meetings all over the world. And the one I ended up in, most surprising to me, was the meeting in Johannesburg. And I noticed that there wasn't a lot of men in the meeting. As I'm noting, there's not a lot of men here, right? So I said, what about those men? I talked to the gal that was leading the group, and she says, John, would you consider? And I said, exactly. I'm here for service. I'm a global volunteer. I'm just a person. I'm just a man, but I want to serve, right? And so she says, okay. And then I created a WhatsApp group. These guys started coming to it. And for the last 6 months or so, we've been doing this work together. And it's mostly men from South Africa and Soweto. And so I'm talk about a learning curve. It's so exciting. And to this day, the gentlemen in this group have the confidence now to sit in the chair and to do what I've done. And so from California to around the world, I ended up in this meeting in South Africa, and these men are going to take it from there. And I'm so excited to have this happen in all countries throughout the world as a part of my service. It's almost like a calling, and my goodness, who would have thought? All right, I was on a roll there. So let's finish out here. What started as showing up and leaning in has become a fellowship of giving and receiving support, all as fellow travelers coming from hurting to healing to helping. Thank you so much. It's great to be here to serve. Next, we have our fellow traveler and Tanya's story with other 12-step experience, who will be brought to life by Sheila. Take it away, Sheila.
Wow, John, you're such an inspiration. Thank you so much for your service and for your enthusiasm. It just touches my heart. And I know you're touching many, many lives, as many of you are. My name is Sheila, and I'm grateful to be in recovery with the ACA Recovery Program and Fellowship today. It was over a year ago. I found this fellowship again, introduced to it. It was sort of before my time kind of thing. I wasn't sure what it was. I didn't even understand the term, what it was, an adult child. I just could not connect or relate to that inner child. I had been traveling in the 12-step community for, well, since 1990. So we're going a little 30 years now. And it was only a little over a year ago, as I said, that I came back to ACA by way of a fellow traveler, a friend in another 12-step recovery program, who told me about this Ready, Set, Go program that she had heard about that was going to Zoom us through 12 steps in a weekend. I felt like it was a great opportunity to get a refresher and step up my game in recovery in a new area where I hadn't really been rooted yet. When I went into my first ACA meeting, having had all this, what I thought, plethora of experience in 12-step program, I was looking for, at the first onset, with such refreshing and vibrant information connecting to this core, this inner self that I wasn't even aware of at the time. I knew I wanted this recovery. I knew it was the missing link in all of my years of recovery and all of my years of service through various 12-step programs, like I said. And because of that background, my first experience in a meeting was I didn't want to leave that meeting without obtaining a commitment from another person to be my sponsor. I knew if I left that meeting without a sponsor, I wouldn't have collaboration, I wouldn't have a commitment. And I was in that mode of desperation that I'd found myself in many times with other 12-step programs. What I didn't understand is that ACA is different. And even though I felt like, my urgency was enough to encourage someone to reach out their hand and decide they're going to sponsor me, it just was not the culture in ACA. When I was, going through other 12-step programs, it was impressed upon me, I shall say, that if you don't get a sponsor, something terrible could happen. I could die. I could drink again. I could use again. I could act out again in other ways, relationship ways, and other addictive behaviors. But what I found as I started to continue to come up, no one did that. We were all pretty reserved. We have a lot of commonalities in our own demeanor. And as I stuck around, I started going to Ready, Set, Go meetings, and I found my own way through 12-step workshops and whatnot. It started to become more and more apparent about the the combination of support that happens, the group, the circle of support that occurs organically in these rooms. Some of the stories we just heard from other characters in this story are about just that. And I started to experience that. It took unravel this dogma of beliefs that I thought I had to have. And in fact, I thought I needed to change the program. I thought I needed to come into the program of ACA and start sponsoring people and getting them through the steps and doing all the things that I had been taught that work so wonderfully in these other recovery programs. What I've learned over time is that yes, indeed, it's an amazing place to find people to walk the path with us in this journey to self-love, in this journey to the true self, in this place of such incredible emotional and mental and physical healing. But there are so many ways to do that. Having a partner would be, is one way. Having 12-step groups is another. Workshops, having ready, set, go meetings. Now within a year, I've done 2 of those. I've done 2 12-step programs, workshops of 16-week workshops online on Zoom, and a trait workshop, as well as a follow-up trait workshop. And now I'm being of service at the global level because I am again on fire for what this program is doing. I've seen it change lives. And like I said, a year ago, when I first came to AWC for my first time, I was so blown away by the connection that was being made by individuals around the world that I knew I had to be a part of this amazing fellowship in a very big way. So thank you so much for letting me share.
Jono, you are on mute.
Yes.
Come on.
Oh, Sheila, so awesome. Thank you. Our last character in Tanya's story is the woman who steps up to her sponsor. Marianne will share her experience being a more traditional sponsor, helping fellow travelers work the steps one-on-one. Take it away, Marianne.
All right, thank you, John. I thought I would share my story of hurting to healing to helping by sharing where I started, where I am today, where I feel like I have all the promises, and then a little bit about my helping journey and sort of a timeline, so you can hear what it was like for me. So when I came into these meetings, I was in a really bad place. A friend suggested I come because I told her I didn't care if I lived or died. And she suggested I come. I said, my parents didn't drink. She said, doesn't matter, it only costs $1, just go. And I did, and I was shocked and surprised when I heard the laundry list. But I came in, I couldn't feel anything. I was numb. I was financially poor. I changed jobs every year to year and a half because of my poor relationships. I had one friend, and she was an alcoholic who had just gotten into recovery. It was a pretty dysfunctional relationship. I was estranged from my family. I did geographic fixes. I moved every 6 months to 1 year because I had problems with neighbors. I had problems with landlords. I just didn't like the area. And I had problems with food, spending, jobs, relationships. I was terrified of people and authority figures and was often running from them because of the shame that I carried. And today, I'm very happy to say that I've been married for 12 years. I got married for the first time when I was 47. I've been in my home for 15 years. I've been in my job for 22 years. I have friends in recovery that I've had from my first step study group for 30 years. I had 150 people at my wedding, which is quite a change from having one friend. My home's almost paid off. I have a good amount saved for retirement. I have peace and serenity. I would say on my average day, I'm in serenity like 23 and a half hours a day. I have fun. I plan parties. I take trips. I ride my bike. I swim. I garden. I am myself in every aspect of my life, and I feel good about myself and who I am. I used to have different personalities at work versus with friends versus with family. Not anymore. I teach classes, I do presentations, I'm comfortable in front of a group of people. And my 30+ close friends are all responsible for themselves. I can easily set boundaries with my family today. I can remember the first time I set a boundary with my mother, I was shaking and sweating. So what I have today came from staying in these rooms, even when it was hard. And sometimes because of my family trauma, I felt like everybody in the room hated me and didn't want me there. And I was shaking and sweating, just staying in the rooms. But it really works if you keep coming back. So I started before there was literature, and we were all trying to figure it out together. My sponsor history, I was terrified, shy, lost child, and scapegoat. And asking someone to sponsor me was out of the question. That didn't happen for about 5 years. But I did go to my first 12-step workbook group at 1 year. Oh, there's my time. And I'll just finish up with, I attended my first.
Marianne, you can take a minute.
Okay. I attended my first step study group at 1 year. I led my first meeting at 4 months. I chaired my first meeting at 2 years. I started my first step study group that I started at 3 years into the program. I sponsored my first person at 5 years. I became treasurer and secretary for my home group at about 7 and 8 years. I started my first meeting at 14 years and a step study meeting that goes along with it. I participated in our local intergroup starting at 20 years. And if I had known then what I know now, I would have started sooner, but you really can't compare yourself because I'm a lost child and a scapegoat. And sometimes it's hard for us to trust and venture in. And when I sponsor, I tell people who are interested in having me sponsor them to get at least the phone number of 20 people that they can call anytime for support. You need lots of phone numbers in this program. And that the solution is to become your own loving parent. So I tell people who are interested in sponsorship, you're there to listen, you're there to share your experience, strength, and hope, but the solution is for everybody to become their own loving parent. Thank you.
Thanks to each of you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope. That's exactly what we need. It shows us the diversity of what giving ACA support can look like. And as we heard in Tanya's story, there are just so many ways to carry the message of hope throughout the fellowship. One last one that will be read is from Sue V, now our trustee on the WSO board. This is part of her healing journey shared in the new blog. We'll end the section with one more story of healing, helping from our new recovery support blog.
Monica's going to read that. I'll tell you a little bit more about this blog afterwards.
Go ahead, Monica.
Hi, I'm Monica C. In my 5th month, I found the courage to ask a fellow traveler a few years more in ACA to walk me through the steps and hear my step 5. Something inside me told me if I didn't do this, I would not be able to progress in my healing, but I was afraid of being hurt and betrayed. The person I asked had the same fears about me. We talked and she agreed to try, and if it didn't work, we could stop. My sponsor asked me, "Where are you in the step 4 worksheets?" I was doing what I always did without knowing, looking outside of me and not staying present within me. I added my name to the harms list, and my journey of self-gentleness and young self-love started. Working with someone one-on-one made all the difference in the world to me. I felt supported. When my sponsor finished hearing my step 5, she said, "You have graduated. I have given you everything I know in ACA. She asked me to sponsor her in a situation she was dealing with, and I discovered I received another gift of healing as we worked together in this different way. I grew from just sharing in group meetings and studies to one-on-one work with the sponsor and fellow travelers. I just started giving this gift to other fellow travelers, and we both grew and healed together.
All right, thanks Monica for sharing. So as John was saying, that was an excerpt from a blog that's going to be part of a new online ACA center, and that's going to be launched sometime soon. It's not live yet. And if I'm not mistaken, more details are going to be shared at a presentation following this one. So more on that later. So now we'll move on to part 4 of our presentation, hope. Sheila, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Okay, hope is great. Yeah, there's lots of hope here. Thank you all. And it's growing. Though the pandemic shut many doors of 12-step rooms around the globe, many or maybe even more virtual rooms popped up. It feels like the ACA world has expanded and our global distances have shrunk. And with our new reality, the opportunities to join hands with and light the way for fellow travelers on the other side of the world to become very numerous. And especially for those fellow travelers in countries that don't have the well of resources that our main centers in Canada, the US, and Europe do. With our recovery paths now crisscrossing all over the globe, our fellowship has attracted and enabled fellow travelers without a lot of local supports to access supports from stronger ACA footholds. The purpose of our working group is to increase accessibility, connection, and strength in giving and receiving ACA recovery and service support for ACA global emerging countries. I want to introduce you to the sponsorship coordinator of one of these emerging countries. I'm just absolutely delighted that Danish is here from India, who will share with us the growth of the needs of the emerging fellowship there. Danish, take it away.
Danish, are you able to unmute yourself? Okay, so Angza, if you can unmute Danish and India and give him the power to speak.
Thank you so much, Leah, and thank you so much, Angza, for your service. Thank you, everyone, for the service. Namaste and hello to all the attendees and the service volunteers at the AWC. I am Danish N from New Delhi, India. Am I audible, dear? Yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
Danish.
As adult children, you always want to be heard. So today I will be speaking about the obstacles that ACA India has been facing in the past 1 year, and what we as a fellowship have done through the course of 1 year to bridge the challenges and to reach hope, experience, and the strength that the fellowship talks about. Firstly, I'll just share about a little bit of brief background on ACA in India. We started in 2013, 2014, and we have steadily grown in the past 1 year of the pandemic, and today we have around 150 plus members, and we serve these members through 2 meetings per week. These meetings are held via Zoom on Wednesdays and Sundays in the evening. Meetings, India is a huge country, and these meetings welcome around 20 plus members from around 20 plus metropolitan cities across 13 states in India, which is a huge number. And we also see an upcoming international participation as well. But more importantly, today I wanted to speak about what are the challenges that ACA faces in India and what is our need specifically on these challenges and what we seek from the global community. One of the first challenges that I wanted to talk about was that we want experienced fellow travelers. And this challenge is about the fact that the sponsorship program of India is still in its formative stages. Experienced fellow travelers who are regular attendees of ACA meetings and who have worked in ACA 12 steps are very few and far to find, maybe probably less than one or two. And this has created a huge challenge where there are a host of newcomers and members who are actively seeking for experienced fellow travelers but are unable to find them. And hence this demotivates them and dampens their commitment to recovery. And eventually we have noticed that the membership has a high rate of attrition where if around five newcomers are coming into our meetings every month, around we are by the month end we are left by around one or two newcomers only, which we don't really want to. We want to have we want to reach a space where the newcomers feel included, and our need on this point is that we want experienced fellow travelers from around the world who can communicate in English and in other Indian languages such as Hindi and others, because Hindi is our mother tongue, and communicating in Hindi is much easier for us, even though we are comfortable in English. So my request would be that if some fellow travelers who are comfortable in English or Hindi could work with members in India, through video conferencing apps such as Zoom or other means to help them recommit to recovery. This would enable members in India to take the message of the program forward. I say this because of the fact that even though India is a huge country, we still have 150 members only. And if we have this connection between the experienced fellow travelers and newcomers and the existing members in the membership, we would be able to take the message of the program forward to other people, because of the fact that we don't really have experienced fellow travelers in India who have completed the 12 steps. This brings me to the um next call to action that I wanted to discuss about, was that we a call to action for fellow travelers for step studies. ACA India is having its first step study in the month of May or June of 2021. Like in the month of May or June, we are having a first step study. However, due to the lack of members who have already been a part of step study, we are facing some roadblocks in initiating the step study. And hence, my humble request is to global members is to, if we can have some experienced fellow travelers who have been a part of step study to share their to share their fire with us. Thank you, Leah, for the reference. To share their fire with us and their experience in conducting a step study, so that we can also have a step study which would be very important in strengthening our experience, strength and hope in ACA. And this would be very important for us as a group, because it would lead to the message of the ACA being taken forward, helping us to stick to our traditions. So that is our second call to action.
And
The
Danish,
third, yeah,
just one more minute. Yes.
yeah, thank you, Leah. The last point that I wanted to touch upon was on the literature. Tradition success that each group has one but primary purpose to carry its message to the adult child that still suffers. India does not have literature today. We do not have local printing, and that has been a major roadblock in taking the message to members in India. And even though we are so grateful that we received the gift from the WSF of about 50 books, that resource is being depleted. And the situation was that today we are left with three bigger red books to be shared among 10 members. And so that is my humble request with members, where if we could come up with a very workable solution on literature specifically in India. Sorry for the noise of the bird, it's still morning in India. Uh, so if we could work out a workable solution to have local printing and local publishing in India, that would be great, because I, as a person who is still in recovery, would want to take the message of the ACA forward and uphold uh, the sixth tradition. And without literature, that won't be, that won't be possible. And that is the most important call for me, because without having the literature, without reading the literature in a group setting, we as a fellowship won't be able to grow forward in India. The last 2 points are about, call for ECs who are active in service to share their fire with us, so that we can understand how service is to be done and how to inculcate the message of service in ACA. And lastly, we would want some guidance also on strengthening the safety of our Zoom meetings, so that we can create a safe environment for people who are in India, who want to be a part of our community. Thank you so much, Leah, and thank you so much, Angza, and thank you so much everyone who has been a part of this. And just namaste.
Danish, thank you so much for sharing. You know, it's just amazing the work that's happening, and it's you know, this is exactly what we're here for. You know, and I was planning to launch one thing tonight, but it sounds like I launched something different. This whole fire esh thing has really caught on. So we are coming to the end of the workshop, and we're a little bit tight on time, so I'm going to rush through, but this is our launch. We are launching our Global Recovery Support Hub. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some things that we have been, you know, building and, well, just starting to really think about and putting into action, right? This is a program of action coming from love, and we invite now, like, we're opening up to the fellowship, and we invite everyone to join us and to join hands across all of these virtual Zoom rooms that can reach places like India and Brazil and Mexico and South Africa and Australia, and we're all in this together. I mean, it's you know, seeing the silver lining of this health crisis. So let's move through these next slides fairly quickly, and I'll quickly share with you some of the things that are happening. So we have a WhatsApp hub, a global recovery support sponsorship WhatsApp hub. So this is for people who are ready or would like to learn how to carry the message in emerging countries like India, in all sorts of ways. Or if you want to mentor ACAs who are looking for mentorship on carrying the message of hope. So you can join that link. You can join it right now and do this action coming from love and join this growing, I mean, soon to be growing hub network. And from this, we hope to build a lot of connections. And when you join, you know, say who you are, and also say what languages you speak other than English, because maybe this will be a chance for you to connect to other adult children. I saw Marianne writing in the chat, you know, even if your inner child speaks a language that's not the same as the one that your meetings are in now, that's an opportunity to, you know, visit another meeting that might be in the language of your inner child. So it works both ways. Let's go to the next activity that we're launching. So there's going to be a new meeting, and the new meeting's topic is going to be offering recovery support / sponsorship. So in ACA sponsorship, you know, we can call it giving and receiving recovery support, sponsorship as a shorthand. And when we say this, we mean all the ways that we've been talking about in the last hour or so about how to give and receive support. So we're going to be starting this new meeting, and we're looking for a circle of trusted servants who can offer experience, strength, and hope. So what you can do, you can, if you have sponsorship experience, sign up to be a speaker and join this trusted servant circle. And if you are looking for more support in how to be a sponsor or fellow traveler or whatever, then also sign up. And we, I think Sheila has put in our new email where you can connect to our working group and find out. We'll be posting information in our WhatsApp hub. We'll be posting information. We'll be sending out information to people who get in touch with us by email to let you know when this meeting is happening. It's going to be an ongoing meeting. And there's a lot of new literature that's coming out. So we're also going to be providing literature on sponsorship, on being of service. And so we're here to support both people who are ready to go already and have, months or years of experience, and also people who are, more like Tanya was, like, I'm not sure, I think I need a little bit more support. So we're here for you too. And of course, we're here for the newcomer. That's what this is all about. So you can find out about this meeting, and a lot of it is going to draw on this new literature. So there's a new sponsorship. It's called Connections, that's coming out. It's in like a fellowship wide stage, but we are going to be drawing on that kind of literature to support us in this. So let's move on to the next slide. Our working group, it is strong. It's been wonderful, and we're always looking for more members. So join us in this journey. Join our working group. We're also going to be, as a working group, we're going to start traveling to different countries to offer support in this way. So join us and be part of this building process. And again, our email is in the slide, and the email, Angza, thank you so much, just posted in the Zoom chat. So many ways to connect to us. All right, so let's keep going. Angza is like on fire tonight. I think she's doing it all alone tonight, which was not the plan. So thank you for your service. We do it as a team. So this one is about a mentorship circle. So it's a new initiative, and it's basically the idea is to have a circle of seasoned ACAs, people who have some strong experience, strength, and hope to share, to offer newer fellow travelers who are stepping into one-on-one support. And it's to offer that ongoing mentorship so that we can move from that healing to helping to carry that message to newcomers in global countries with more confidence. So the idea here is to have that supportive circle in an ongoing way, matching people who are like Tanya, who are like, I want to help, but I'm not sure, with people who have done this and are willing to be trusted servants in this way. So if you can just go to the next slide, if you're interested in that initiative, what you can do. So again, if you have that sponsorship experience, sign up to be part of the circle of the ones who are offering that service support. And then if you are looking for that ongoing mentorship support because you want to take on some sponsees or fellow travelers or share partners, or in whatever way, or you want to start leading a step study, etc., then sign up to receive support and be part of this circle. And again, you can email that email, and it says what you can even put in exactly how you want to connect to us. So if you're interested in the sponsorship mentorship circle, and let us know, do you want to be part of offering that mentorship, or do you want to be part of the circle to receive the mentorship? So this is us trying to offer those structures, offer those circles of support, so we can continue to move from healing to helping. So again, I mentioned this before, we keep carrying the message in emerging global countries. So what you can do, join the WhatsApp hub, join our working group. That's where you'll start to get plugged in and find out about where we're traveling to next. What's on our next slide? And so here, just to close out, I'm just going to share just more ways that you can carry the message, anywhere, anytime. You can join a step study or Ready, Set, Go in another country as a participant, and just to carry the message, carry the message of experience, strength, and hope. Just be a member or be a newcomer share partner, be someone's temporary sponsor, etc. You can connect with us to get support on leading a step study. in another country. Or you can just start one on your own. If you speak other languages other than English, or if you move to Europe or North America from one of our emerging global countries, let us know. Join our WhatsApp hub and let us know, and we can connect you into what's happening in the country that speaks that language, who might not be able to connect with the literature that we have in English or connect to so many meetings in English. Another thing, wherever you are, announce in meetings. Any meeting you go locally, wherever you are, that you're available for outreach and fellow traveling with a newcomer. So help make yourself available to the newcomer, even just for outreach in the beginning to help them navigate the beginning of a newcomer's journey, because we were all newcomers once. And what I like to do this on meetings if I go to, I like to use the Zoom chat function, and I put my number in there. Again, if you're comfortable, or I let people know, if you connected with my share, my experience, strength, and hope in this meeting, reach out to me privately, and we can connect and do outreach together. Or, even put it out publicly, so that we help create an environment, an even more welcoming and supportive culture in ACA for our beloved newcomers. So we're going to close out. That's the end of our presentation. And Angza, our Zoom Tech host wizard, if you can, I don't know if you're still able to read this, otherwise one of the presenters will read.
I could do that if you would like me to.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Angza here. So volunteering for service. Service in ACA is a recovery tool that strengthens your program, and you can help carry the message and make a difference in another ACA member's life by signing up as a volunteer. And Service in Global, to volunteer, please go on to the link mentioned, and I will try and copy paste and put it into the chat as well. And also try and complete our global volunteer form. I will also put that in the chat. And you can email us at globalmembers@adultchildren.org. And also service in other areas of WSO. To volunteer for service within other areas of WSO, please go to, again, the link I would share in the chat, which is https://acawso.org/service/. And please follow the prompts to complete the form, which will help to direct you to the committees that best matches with your areas of interest. With that, I'll pass. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Angza. We're going to go to the next slide. And as you bring it up, I do want to let you know that if you can't connect directly to, if you want to join our WhatsApp hub that's just starting and you can't do it from your computer or device that you're on right now, feel free to drop your phone number, private message me, and I'll add you to the hub. Or you can also email us and ask us to add you to the hub. We'll work it out. We'll get you connected. Would someone be able to read, one of the presenters be able to read the seventh tradition?
Yes, John, I'll do it.
Thanks, John.
Seventh tradition, what makes it all happen. Our seventh tradition states every ACA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. We ask that you consider making a seventh tradition contribution at the following link, where you will find a variety of ways you can make your contribution. We are delighted to announce new functionality and more options have been added on this new seventh tradition link. So you can now donate in your local currency in a variety of ways, such as credit card, PayPal, Venmo, JCB, Diners Club, Google, and Apple Pay. If you can give, thank you for your gift.
And I've asked Marianne to read the promises.
Thank you, Leah. The promises. We will discover our real identity by loving and accepting ourselves. Our self-esteem will increase as we give ourselves approval on a daily basis. Fear of authority figures and the need to people please will leave us. Our ability to share intimacy will grow inside us. As we face our abandonment issues, we will be attracted by strengths and become more tolerant of weaknesses. We will enjoy feeling stable, peaceful, and financially secure. We will learn how to play and have fun in our lives. We will choose to love people who can love and be responsible for themselves. Healthy boundaries and limits will become easier for us to set. Fears of failure and success will leave us as we intuitively make healthier choices. With help from our ACA support group, we will slowly release our dysfunctional behaviors. Gradually, with our higher power's help, we will learn to expect the best and get it.
Ah, beautiful. So please check the acawso.org website for information about the MP3 recordings for this event. The website details are being added to the chat, but can also be found at the following link, which maybe Angza will post. The next two sessions are the all new Comline. That's what I was talking about before, where the blog we read about, that's going to be part of this whole new online center for ACA. So you can hear about that next. And there's also a parents, grandparents, aunties, and uncles ACA meeting in this room. And I believe that there is between sessions another activity. And if you want to check on the schedule, you can refer to the workshop schedule for the AWC link, www.acaworldconvention.org. And that brings us to the end of our session. I believe, oh, there's a couple more slides. Yes, the closing. And I did take a sneak peek and I already saw people signing up for our hub and I'm just so excited. So thank you to everyone who shared today, as well as to all those whose service helped to make this worldwide ACA World Convention come together. We will all now be unmuted if we can figure it out, Angza. So you can invite everyone to unmute to join all of us together in saying it together. So please join me in closing our meeting with the ACA Serenity Prayer in whatever language or way calls your heart. I'll just take a breath. In whatever language you choose to call in God. Grant me the serenity
courage to change the wisdom to know one without me.
All right. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And if you want to hear us again tomorrow or tell your friends, join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll be having a different visitor from another emerging country, and we'll do this all again. So, and tell your friends, share the message of our WhatsApp group and all of that.
Thank you so much, Leah. And thank you everyone for letting me be of service and being the tech host. Hope everything went smooth. And
Beautiful.
thank you.
Thank you.